so today we're going to talk about something that's ever important for no matter what your goal is, no matter who you are, whether it's fitness, whether it's business, whether it's relationships, can be spanned across the whole spectrum of whatever you consider your life to be, right? And that is goal setting. So we're going to break that down as far as what types of goals there are and then how to use that in the most practical way possible for what we're going to be talking about today is fitness goals and a weightlifting perspective.
Yeah, building off that, so basically what you want to do is look at two kind of breakdowns of how you want to approach goal setting. So either going to be process or outcome. So taking that a step further, outcome is essentially your end goal. So I want to do X amount of weight, or I want to lose X amount of pounds, things like that. Process is what helps build or helps develop those end goals, those outcome goals. So your process goal may be, I want to move more efficiently, I want to be more mobile, things like that, in order to help that end goal. So you can think about them kind of building upon each other.
Even more simply for process or process outcomes, they work hand in hand. So an outcome may be, like you said, or actually what our example today is going to be to clean and jerk a new PR. How do you do that? You set up your process in alignment with your outcome. So I need to train 5 days a week to be able to do whatever this movement is at this load. Or if I want to get started as a beginner, how do I start to lose weight? Shit, all I need to do is set a process for going to the gym 5 times or 3 times a week because I'm not doing anything current. To take it a step further, we're going to explain what a SMART goal is so that, really, like I'm sure everyone's heard of SMART goal. If you haven't, it's specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time bound. Or realistic and time bound. And all that is setting up a structure for you to base that goal on and then have kind of that outline of, hey, how do I make this really happen? How do I make myself better in this process?
And then looking at SMART goals as well, everybody's heard of that. There's a lot of academic kind of studies that look at it and they're kind of like, well, is this necessarily achievable? Is it necessarily something that's applicable to the common person or an athlete? In my opinion, absolutely. It absolutely is. It gives you a framework from which to work from. A lot of kind of the hesitation of goal setting for most people is paralysis by analysis. They don't have the ability to sit down and kind of look at things at that point and be like, well, where do I start? Well, if you have a framework, you can just follow it step by step by step and go through from start to finish and help you achieve or at least lay out the beginning of the goals that you want to achieve. I always look at things from a stepping stone approach, which we'll talk about in a second, but kind of looking at SMART goals. So if we're going to look at a specific goal as the first step, that's something that needs to be specific to you and what you're trying to achieve. Whether that's more pounds on a barbell, whether that's I want to weigh less, whether that's I want to weigh more, that's fine. Looking at it from that, you look at a runner, I want to run a mile in this X amount of time, things like that needs to be specific to you. Measurable, things like that, kind of building as they build up with each other. Measurable might be something to where you're kind of sitting there looking at, okay, well, how am I going to quantify my success or quantify my progress or quantify that end goal to know, hey, I've achieved this or I've grown by X percentage at that point.
Yeah, a lot of people, they set the goal and it might be specific to them, right? Like, hey, let's just use the runner, for example. I'm a runner and I need to get my timed mile down to, let's say, 6 minutes. But the rest of it, the measurable, the achievable, the realistic, and the time sensitive are not there. They just say, I want to get faster. Well, how do you do that? You have to set the rest of the system, the MART, you have to give it that outline and say, okay, how do I make this measurable? How do I make this time bound? How do I make it realistic? And using this construct really kind of provides that structure, provides the ability to, to be successful. I think it goes down to the whole either plan or plan or fail to plan, right?
Yeah.
You either have that structure or you have chaos and you never get to where you want to go.
There's a saying, it's piss poor preparation provides piss poor performance. It's like the 6 P's or 7 P's to success. That's always a saying that I've really enjoyed.
It's fail to plan or plan to fail.
Plan to fail.
Yeah.
There you go. Brain fart.
Yeah.
So looking at it and building achievable, realistic simultaneously are siblings of each other. They kind of have overlap, but they're also important to kind of look at as standalone concepts. Something has to be achievable to where there is an end goal in mind. There has to be some sort of finalization of like, I have arrived in order to set a new goal. It also has to be realistic to you. One of the examples that we threw up there is, say you deadlifted 405 for the first time, and you feel really, really good about it, you feel really confident about your progression, and I just throw out, I want to deadlift 800 pounds. That's a great goal, that's awesome, but you can't achieve that at that point. A more realistic goal is, I want to deadlift 455, 495.
That's a decade goal.
That's a decade goal. That's a lifetime goal. That might be something to where like you never actually achieve that because it's not realistic and it's not achievable.
It's there for you to reach out to.
And it's something to aspire to. And it's okay to have those goals, but it's also understanding that you have to achieve a whole bunch of goals in order to achieve that.
It's better to set, to kind of tie it into time bound, something that is achievable, realistic, and you have a timeline. So like if it's 405, how do I get to 425?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Is 425 achievable in 6 months? Hell yeah, it is. So you use that to build upon and build upon and build upon. You can still say, I want to achieve 805. Maybe that's not realistic within the next 10 years, but hey, it's there, and you can use those, like you said, stepping stones, 425, 435, 465, and kind of make your way closer and closer to it.
You absolutely want to have the progression. And I'm not, please don't look at this and be like, John's saying, don't ever dream big. Dream big, absolutely. Like, make people scoff at your goals, but also understand that they're stepping stones. Just as climbing a stair, there's steps that you have to take in order to get to that end goal.
If you set a goal, let's continue to use this example. If you set the 805 goal and you never achieve it, what does that do to your confidence?
It takes it. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely.
So you have to have that realistic and that attainable are there to provide, they give you that positive feedback. So if I reach 425, like, holy shit, I'm getting stronger.
Yeah.
It gives you that confidence to keep going.
Yeah, and it's also, if you look at kind of like the mental makeup of what makes people successful, some of the pillars of that are self-efficacy, competence, and confidence. So if I set a goal and it's inherently unachievable, it's not realistic, it's not time sensitive, and it's not measurable at that point, I'm basically just pissing in the wind. Like, what's essentially going to happen at that point? I'm never going to be successful, and that's going to inherently hurt me long term.
This is ego lifting.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I think I can do this. It feels like it's there, and we're all guilty of it, but following the framework helps reinforce those patterns where it's like, hey, this is what we need to do. Looking at a real world example, giving you all the tools, but again, we always want to go back to the application. We throw out a weightlifter. So a weightlifter has approximately a 300-pound clean and jerk, okay? So we're gonna look at things in yearly, a monthly block, a weekly, and a daily. So we're basically working from big to small. For some people, they need to see the big picture, be able to backtrack and almost look at it.
For those that don't know what a training block is, do you want to explain that?
So a training block is usually for a 4 to 8 week. You can also go all the way up to 12 weeks, depending upon your relative intensity. You can use progressive overload. You can use undulating programs. If you don't know what those are, I'm going to send you on a scavenger hunt. But essentially what we're doing is we're creating progress. And then at the end of that, you're going to go through your progression. You're going to deload a little bit, and you're going to start a new training
A
block.
block is essentially just a block of time.
Yep. And then essentially what we're going to use for here, for our example, is we're using a 4 to 6 week period, or more specifically 4 weeks or a month. Okay. Essentially what we're looking at though is this individual is a male. They have a 300-pound clean and jerk, okay, but their end goal is to do 330. It's approximately 150 kilograms, okay.
That falls within our smart, I mean, we haven't given a timeline yet, but that's very realistic, right? 30 pounds, it's something that can be
Absolutely. Especially with the power output and things like that, and the wide array of training principles that can be used in Olympic lifting. 30
we
pounds
have
is
to
overall.
set the process, so how do we do that?
So what you're going to do at that point is kind of break down. So we have an end goal in mind, 330 pounds. So we're going to figure out our block and break down that in order to achieve my goals, I need to be efficient. So what we chose for that block is that I want no more than 3 misses for an entire block or a 1 month period, okay? That might sound kind of strict, but if you're missing reps, then you're training at above the intensity that you need to be training, okay?
Accumulating too much fatigue.
Absolutely. Especially with Olympic lifting, it's one of those things where it's not like strongman and powerlifting to where you get credit for grinding. It needs to be there or it's not, and that's okay.
It's got to be crisp.
Crisp, clean, and efficient. That's what we're maximally looking for. So yearly goal, 330. Block goal, no more than 3 misses, okay? Weekly goal is going to get more specific. Again, we're building a stepping stone or a building approach, okay? We're going to make sure that we're hitting a power or strength, so a high intensity or heavy load day. You're We need to make sure that we're hitting a high hypertrophy day, and we need to make sure that we're hitting a prehab or range of motion day to make sure that our quality of movement is very high. So that's going to be our weekly goal.
Not to get too specific as far as like how to program for this type of individual or this type of goal, but you have to have the right amount of volume so that you don't lose too much muscle mass during this period of time. But you also have to have those dynamic hard efforts that allow the nervous system to really learn how to express more force. So you want to kind of find that balance. That's why he's saying we need this heavy loading day that's also fast and crisp, but we also need some hypertrophy work so that we can continue to move in the right direction.
And also looking at it with your training, you always need to have a neural component. We always want to have a hypertrophic component at that point, to where we're always building the nervous system, which is what's initiating the muscle to contract, and then we're also building the things that we're contracting. We're going to make it really simplistic.
Yeah, so this is that whole, is it realistic? Is the process set up in the right direction? Because many times you'll see people that are working for max strength, but they forget to, or not forget to, but they don't have the right balance of hypertrophy work. So they will actually lose mass during that, we'll call it a peaking phase or strength phase.
Yep. And then going from weekly, we also want to look at daily. So our daily is that we're going to make sure that our mobility is good, that we're working on our flexibility and making sure that we have, that we're putting our body in the best position, but we're also going to focus on recovery. And then in addition, building on our last video, we want to make sure that we're executing mental practice and utilizing imagery. So as a recap, your goal, 300 to 330 pound clean and jerk. Our monthly goal, no more than 3 misses in our training. Our weekly goals that we want to hit 3 pillars that are vital to training. And our daily goals that we're going to have good mental state, executing imagery, that we're working on recovery, and that we are attacking or working on our training with our mental state going into it. Did I miss anything?
No, that covers outcome. So outcome is, upping from 300 to 330 on that clean and jerk. And then process, we have block, monthly, and then daily. So that's all of that covers our SMART and our process and outcome. And I hope that you're able to pick up this, like we use one example, right? But you could take this and apply it to a weight loss goal. You could apply it to a weight gain goal. You could apply it to a power lifter, strongman, runner, cyclist, whatever type of athlete or whatever type of activity you're doing within your fitness, you can take this system and apply it.
Yeah, and that's the biggest thing, is figuring out how you tick, figure out what your specific areas. We all have things that we excel at, we all have things that we significantly struggle at, and that's okay. It's just a matter of executing that self-awareness, or that self-actualization, and figuring out what it takes in order to make yourself successful.
And I'll just take it one further step. This is not something that is keyholed to fitness, right? You can take this for anything. For me, I every 6 months or so, I take out a piece of paper and I write down, here's outcome A, outcome B, outcome C, and outcome D. I want these things to happen over the next 6 months. And then, that includes everything in my life, right? So financial, school, so right now, I have one more semester left, fitness, and then whatever else it may be. And then to the right of that, I write out the processes that need to occur in order for me to accomplish those things within that 6 month block. So we hope that you can take this and kind of apply it to wherever you need to apply it in your life.
Absolutely. Another thing is, if you have areas that you struggle in, go ahead and recognize those things. So it might be writing yourself a message on your bathroom mirror, it might be putting sticky notes on your fridge, areas that you struggle with, things like that. Find the tools that work for you. If you have any other questions, feel free to reach out to either one of us. I'm more than happy to help you. It's been a pleasure discussing these things with you all today, and have a good